Greetings to each one of you present here. I'm extremely overwhelmed to get this opportunity to address our second chief guest on this webinar on the topic Writing Scientific Research Paper. Dr. Pratik Rajan Mungatka, a scientist, professor, counselor, global educator, an author, and international speaker. He is the first Indian to be appointed as the Planetary Ministry of Sustainable Development of newly emerging the Kingdom of Atlantis. He is the first youngest Indian whose book is Introduction to Sustainable Development Goals is now part of education program. He is the first youngest Indian to receive 250. He is the first youngest Indian professor who taught more than 8,000 students and guided 4,000 students till date, and the count is still on. He is the first Indian international, national, and state awards at the age of 28 for his contribution in the field of teaching and research. He is the first youngest Indian to receive 125 plus high degrees across the globe. He is the first Indian to be appointed by 35 plus international organizations on various high positions at the same time. He is the first youngest Indian to be appointed as ambassador by 36 organizations of many countries in almost all disciplines. He is the first Indian youngest professor to start teaching at the age of 16, and at the age of 27 he has completed 12 years of teaching experience. He is the first youngest Indian to receive royal and prestigious titles such as Luxurious, Magnificent, and HRH 5-star Duke. He is the first youngest Indian to receive Menzies Fellowship, United Kingdom's highest academic honor. He is the first Indian to receive the distinguished title Professor Wisdom from Institutional Cultural Columbia, America. I am very much happy to invite you, sir, for this session.
Thank you. Am I audible, everyone?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for your kind introduction. First of all, I would like to congratulate all the organizers and team for inviting me, for organizing such a great conference for all the students, listeners, educators, and entire our fraternity. So I'll begin with my topic, writing a research paper, writing a scientific research paper. So first I'll introduce what the concept is, and then I'll share my PPT. Okay, so the value of research and the career of a university lecturer, professor, student depend heavily on the success in publishing scientific papers. So this article reviews the guidelines for writing and submitting research papers. So the three most important success criteria in publishing research papers are the paper describes a good research, it is written according to the traditions of scientific writing and submitted to the right journal, then the right journal publishes papers similar to yours, it is factual to follow the usual structure of scientific papers, introduction, methods, results, discussion, and conclusion. Introduction gives the review of the literature studying your problem and leads to the aim and the hypothesis of your research. So the methods part contains a description of the research in detail, which enables the reader to do the research over again. Research results are usually given in tables and graphs. Discussions include the analysis of data received to find support or reject the hypothesis raised in introduction. So the interference, next come interference. So interference are compared with the findings of other researchers and shortcomings and or tasks for further research are pointed out. and it is important to avoid plagiarism, uh, what I can say, in the manuscript, and to consider the copyright law. The manuscript is sent to the editor of the selected journal together with a letter explaining why the journal was chosen and who is the contributing author. In about 3 months, the editor sent the reviews of the manuscript to the contributing author. The reviews are free support and advice in doing research and writing papers. So if not rejected, the manuscript will be revised by the authors and then published. So even the published paper contain shortcomings which do not harm their contribution to science. So scientific research demands precision, scientific writing, and should reflect this precision in the form of clarity. Unfortunately, a glance at almost any scientific journal will reveal that the above stated ideal is often not attained in the real world of scholarly publication. Indeed, many of the accusations by non-scientists of obscurity and elitism within the scientific community probably originate in the sad fact that many scientists are not capable of expressing their hypotheses and conclusions clearly and simply. Fortunately, much of the confusion can be eliminated if writing is considered it's considered part of the pretentiousness. So, in practical terms, the first of those two suggestions implies that as much effort and consideration should be given to the organization of the paper as was given to the execution of the study. And the second implies that the writer should employ crisp sentences, not cluttered with excess verbiage. So the purpose of this handout is to help you achieve your goals. So this argument may seem more compelling if you look it in terms of dollars. So much is spent to perform research and the publication in the distillate of the expensive work. All that will survive and communicate what was learned. So moreover, the scientist pays to have paper published. Currently, approximate $50 per page for many journals. If the content is not clear, the research will be lost and the money spent to perform it was wasted. So if the text is verbose and the author will pay, dearly in pay charges, so do not consider the following, I'm saying the guidelines as unbreakable rules. So the particular format and style adopted for a given paper depend upon both the nature of the purposes, the nature of the report, and the journal or other publication in which the paper is to be published. So for our purposes, they will use format of ecology, the publication of the Ecological Society of America referred to recent issues as models. So all journal publish instructions to author annually in one of the issues. So in other words, there is often more than one correct way of doing something depending on your intentions. So however, the practices adopted here are straightforward and intuitively simple. So you all are advised to become familiar with the details of the rules and regulation, section headings, the organization methods of data presentations, and ways of citing and listing references by examining recent papers in any well-established scientific journal. So this is just a overview of how the process works. Now I'll take pleasure to share my screen. Is it visible, everyone?
Sir,
Yeah,
yes, sir.
Oh,
it's visual.
okay. So let's begin writing scientific research paper. So write with precision, clarity, and economy. Every sentence should convey the exact truth as simply as possible. So that's the you can say keynote of today's lecture. So let me introduce myself, Professor Dr. Pratik Rajan Mungatka. I'm a scientist, professor, global educator, counselor, published author, and an international speaker. Now, next come is format. So the scientific paper has the following elements: title, abstract, introduction, methods, results, discussion, and literature cited. So the actual words, introduction, methods are used to head the sections of your paper. Begin a new page for each section. Tables and figures are placed at the end of the text. In the appendix, you will find an example of a short scientific paper which contains most of the elements described below, except for an abstract concerns that after reading each of the following sections. So this is the format. Next is title. So the title should contain three elements. First, the name of the organism. For example, if you're writing paper on some biological concept, I'm a biotechnologist, so here I'm taking this example. So the title should contain three elements. First, the name of the organism studied. Second, the particular aspect or system studied. And third, the variable manipulated. So do not be afraid to be grammatically creative. Here are some variations on a theme, all suitable as titles. So see, these are the examples. The effect of temperature on this is my let us take example of this, the effect of temperature on germination of corn. Okay, so this is my title. So now this title you can write in all the three ways. So first is the effect of temperature on germination of corn. This is the first way. Second, does temperature affect germination of corn? You can write in a question format also. And third is temperature and corn germination, implications for agriculture. Okay, so these are the three ways in which you can write your title. Sometimes it is possible to include the principal result or conclusion in the title. So, right, like for example, high temperatures reduce germination of corn. So this is my conclusion. So you can write conclusion as your title. Okay. So I repeat, sometimes it is possible to include the principal result or conclusion in the title. So high temperatures reduce germination of corn. This is my paper result. So I can write this result as a title also. Okay. Are you getting my point? Hello?
Yes, please. Yes.
Yes, sir, we're getting it.
Okay. Next is very important, which is abstract. So the abstract is 1 or 2 paragraph condensation, which is about 150 to 200 words only of the entire work described completely in that article. So the abstract should be a self-contained unit capable of being understood without the benefit of the text. It should contain these 4 elements. First is the purpose of the study, the central question, the central idea. Second is a brief, or you can say short statement of what was done. So that is methods. Third is a brief statement of what was found, results, that is results. And last one is a brief statement of what was concluded, that is discussion in part. So this is about abstract. Next comes introduction. So the function of an introduction is to present the question being asked and place it in the context of what is already known about the topic. So background information that suggests why the topic is of interest and related findings by other scientists are usually mentioned here. So in other words, this section should contain 3 points. 1, a description of the nature of the problem and current state of knowledge or understanding at the beginning of the investigation, which is nothing but background. Second is a statement of the purpose, scope, and general method of investigation in your study. And third is hypothesis and predictions. So I'll elaborate each point. So first was description. So in description, do not get lost in reviewing background information. Remember that the introduction is meant to introduce the reader to your research, not summarize and evaluate all past literature on the subject, which is the purpose of a review paper or research paper. So many of the other studies you may be tempted to discuss in your introduction are better saved for the discussion, where they become a powerful tool for comparing and interpreting your results. Include only enough background information to allow your reader to understand why you are asking the question you are and why your hypotheses are reasonable ones. Often a brief explanation of the theory involved is sufficient. So this is about description. Next is, second point is a statement of purpose. So the statement of purpose expresses the central question, central idea you are asking, and thus presents the variable you are investigating. Okay, for example, this study investigates the relationship between tree density and fruit size, like that. Or a second way, the purpose of this study is to determine the effect of enzyme concentration on the reaction rate of so and so. Okay, like that the statement of purpose look like. Next is, third point is hypothesis. So the hypothesis is the explanation you are proposing for certain observations. So it is a tentative answer to the question you have posed above. So it should be accompanied by a prediction of results expected under certain conditions if the hypothesis is correct. So if competition lowers reproductive output, then fruit size should be smaller when tree density increases. This is the example of hypothesis. Okay, some editors think that the principal result and conclusion should be summarized in the introduction. So this practice advocated by the scientist Day in 1983, the hypothesis concept. So most biologists disagree, arguing that such a summary appears in the abstract and should not be repeated in the introduction. You should avoid the practice, except when writing for a journal that requires it. So write this section in the past or present tense, never in the future. Avoid expressions like this study will examine. Okay, so that's how hypothesis, you have to write. Next come is methods. So the function of this section is to describe all experimental procedures, including controls. So the description should be complete enough to enable someone else to repeat your work. If there is more than one part of the experiment, it is good idea to describe your methods and present your results in the same order in each section. So this may not be the same order in which the experiments were performed. It is up to you to decide what order of presentation will make the most sense to your reader. To be continued in methods, there are several methods. First, explain why each procedure was done. That is, what variables were you measuring and why? For example, difficult to understand. First, I remove the frog muscle and then this is example. Okay, so I remove the frog muscle and then I poured Ringer solution on it. Next, I attach it to the chymograph. Improved, I removed the frog muscle and poured Ringer's solution on it to prevent it from drying out. And I then attach the muscle to the chymograph in order to determine the minimum voltage required for concentration. So that's how this methods you need to write. Okay. Next is experimental procedures and results are narrated in the past tense. What you did, what you found, etc. Whereas conclusions from your results are given in the present tense. Third is very important point in methods. Mathematical equations and statistical tests are considered mathematical methods and should be described in this section, method section, along with the actual experimental work. Next point is use active rather than passive voice when possible. Always use the singular I rather than the plural we when you are the only author of the paper. So throughout the paper, avoid contractions. Example, did not versus didn't. So next point is, if any of your methods is fully described in previous publications, yours or someone else, you can cite that instead of describing the procedure again. So here is the example. See, the chromosomes, this is the citation. The chromosomes were counted at meiosis in the anthers with the standard acetylcholine technique of Snow, 1955. So the method which I'm going to discuss, which has been already published in 1955 in some article. So directly, instead of writing the entire whole process or method, I can write only the citation, which is this. Okay, are you getting my point? Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. Next is results. So the function of this section is to summarize general trends in the data without comment, bias, or interpretation. So statistical tests applied to your data are reported in these sections, although conclusions about your original hypothesis are saved for the discussion section. So next point, data may be presented in figures and tables, but this may not substitute for a verbal summary of the findings. So the text should be understandable by someone who has not seen your figures and tables. So these are the two basic points which you need to be considered while writing your results. Next is, for example, now I'm taking one example. Now see, this is incorrect. Incorrect is what? The results are given in figure 1. And correct is what? Temperature was directly proportional to metabolic rate, figure 1. You know, so this is the way of writing the results. Are you getting my point? See, I'm explaining the example, and in that example, I have mentioned here what is incorrect and what's the correct way of writing result. So incorrect what? If I write the results are given in figure 1, so that is totally wrong. Okay, so instead of, if I write temperatures was directly proportional to metabolic rate and then I mentioned figure 1, so that's the way of writing results in the research paper. Okay, so there are 3 points. All results should be presented, including those that do not support the hypothesis. Second, statements made in the text must be supported by the results contained in figures and tables. And third, the results of statistical tests can be presented in parentheses, parentheses meaning brackets, following a verbal description. For example, fruit size was significantly greater in trees growing alone. So now here I'm writing in parentheses also. So T is equal to some figure, 3.65, DF is equal to 2P is less than or greater than 0.05. Like that, you can use statistical traits, and that test can be presented in parentheses also. Okay. Next is discussion. The function of this section is to analyze the data and relate them to other studies. So to analyze means to evaluate the meaning of your results in terms of the original question or hypothesis and point out their biological significance. Okay, so there are many important points in discussion which you need to be very careful. So first, the discussion should contain at least the relationship between the results and the original hypothesis or original concept, that is whether they support the hypothesis or cause it to be rejected or modified. Second, an integration of your results with those of previous studies in order to arrive at explanations for the observed phenomena, and third, possible explanations for unexpected results and observations, phrased as hypotheses, and that can be tested, be realistic experimental procedures which you should describe. So there are so many points in discussion. Second is trains. The various trains, new methodologies that are not statistically significant can still be discussed if they are suggestive or interesting, but cannot be made the basis for conclusions as if they were significant. Third point in discussion is avoid redundancy between the results and the discussion section. So do not repeat detailed descriptions of the data and results in the discussion. So in some journals, results and discussions are joined in a single section. So in order to permit a single integrated treatment with minimal repetition. So this is more appropriate for short, simple articles than for longer, more complicated ones. Next point is end the discussion with a summary of the principal points you want the reader to remember. So this is also the appropriate place to propose specific further study if that will serve some purpose, but do not end with the tired glitch. That is, this problem needs more study. Okay, this kind of statement you cannot write in your results or in the discussion part. So all problems, for example, all problems in biology need more study. So but still we have no right to write this kind of statements in our research paper. So do not close on what you wish you had done. Rather, finish stating your conclusions and contributions. Next is tables and figures. So tables and figures should be used when they are a more efficient way to convey information than verbal description. So they must be independent units accompanied by explanatory captions that allow them to be understood by someone who has not read the text. Do not repeat in the text the information in tables and figures, but do cite them with a summary statement when that is appropriate. Whenever possible, use a figure instead of a table. Relationships between numbers are more readily grasped when they are presented graphically rather than as columns in a table. So in table, first, there are some rules which you have to follow. In tables, do not repeat information in a table that you are depicting in a graph or histogram. Include a table only if it presents new information. Second, in tables, you have to be very careful. It is easier to compare numbers by reading down a column rather than across a row. Therefore, list sets of data you want your reader to compare in vertical form. And third, provide each table with a number, table 1, table 2, etc., and a title. So the number title is placed above the table. Next come figures. So in figures, these what figure comprise? So these comprise graphs, histograms, and illustrations, both drawings and photographs. So provide each figure with a number, figure 1, figure 2, etc., and a caption that explains what the figure shows, as I explained earlier also with the example. So the numbered caption is placed below the figure. Okay, second point, figures submitted for publication must be photo ready. That is, they will appear just as you submit them or photographically reduced. So therefore, when you graduate from student papers to publishable manuscripts, you must learn to prepare figures that will not embrace you. Okay, so lines should be drawn with black ink, not ball pen or marker. Symbols, letters, and numerals must be produced by stencils or mechanically and should be large enough to withstand reduction. Then proportions must be the same as those of the page in the journal to which the paper will be submitted. Next come graphs and histograms. So both can be used to compare two variables. However, graphs show continuous change, whereas histograms show discrete variables only. So compare figures 1 and 2 in the appendix. You can compare groups of data by plotting 2 or even 3 lines on one graph, but avoid clutter graphs that are hard to read, and do not plot unrelated trains on the same graph. For both graphs, if there are 2 graphs or more than 2 graphs, so for each graph and histograms, plot the independent variable on the horizontal x-axis and the dependent variable on the vertical y-axis. So label both axes, including units of measurements. Next comes drawings and photographs. So these are used to illustrate in bio, for example, in chemistry or in science, organisms, experimental apparatus, models of structures, cellular or subcellular structure. These are the examples, and results of procedures like electrophoresis. So preparing such figures well is a lot of work and can be very expensive. So each figure must add enough to justify its preparation and publication. But good figures can greatly enhance a professional article, as you're reading in biological journals, as has already shown. Next is literature cited. So this is the last section of a scientific paper. References are listed by author as indicated by the following sample list. So papers are not referred to by footnotes as in literature papers, but are cited within the body of the text. So see section 1 below. So now see, I'm explaining how we have to cite the literature. Okay, so first we will follow the format of the journal Ecology. Other journals use variations on this theme. See, each journal has their own format and the rules and regulations. So you need to follow the rules and regulations of the journal. Ask your instructors for the specific format they want you to adopt for your work. Okay, for example, journal, Strong, DR, JR 1980, Null Hypothesis in Ecology, Synthase 43, is to 271-285. So that's how literature cites. Okay. Then second is the example book, ED, WR 1954, Animal Control in the Field, Farm and. These are the examples for your reference. Okay. Now see, these are more examples. So articles in a book. So you can write or you can cite the literature as I explain here in the slide. Okay, so this is about how to cite the literature. Second, all authors must be named in the literature cited. So use ETAL only with the context. Just a moment. And third point, no reference is listed in this section unless it was cited somewhere in the text. Sorry for the noise. In my home, we have a puja, so there are guests coming. Okay, so please pardon me. Next is format for citing references in the text. So you must cite another researcher whenever you refer to his or her results, conclusions, or methods in your paper. So the reference in the text is made only to the author's name and the date of publication. So there are 3 ways of doing this. First method, both the name and date can go inside parenthesis. If the name is not actually part of your sentence, not all journals include the comma between author and year. For example, see here, enzymes are inhibited by cyanide, Krupp 1977. So that's the format of reference. Because enzymes are inhibited by cyanide, grub 1977, comma, I expect to find. So notice that the parenthesis is placed at the end of the sentence of clause containing the reference, and that punctuation follows the citation. Okay, so this is the example how you can format for citing references in the text. Second, another way to cite a study is to make the last name of the researcher the subject or object of the sentence or clause and follow it immediately with the date of the study in parentheses. Okay, so these are the examples. Grub 1977 found that cyanide inhibits enzyme. This is way. Second way, because Grub 1977 found that cyanide inhibits enzymes, and this data supports the conclusions of Grub 1977. So these are the ways in which you can cite your you can format for citing references. Okay. Third way, if you wish to emphasize the date of the date of the cited study, you can omit the parenthesis. As early as 1977. This is the example. See, here I omitted the parenthesis. Okay, so as early as 1977, Grubb observed the inhibitory effect of cyanide on enzyme action. So this strategy is often effective for presenting an historical perspective of the problem. That is useful in introduction. Okay. Next, fourth is, it is incorrect to separate the date of publication from the author's name. Okay, so now see here, I'm just a minute. Huh? 1 second. Okay, is it visible now? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. So next point, see, it is incorrect to separate the date of publication from the author's name. So here, see, here I'm writing incorrect. Grubb found that cyanide inhibits enzyme action 1977. This is incorrect. Now, fifth point, if you wish to cite more than one study per reference, that is, if more than one author has reached the same conclusion or worked on the same problem independently, you may list them together in the same parenthesis and separate their names by semicolons. Okay, so cyanide, this is example. Cyanide has been found to inhibit enzyme action. In bracket, I have written Grubb 1977, Smith 1980, and Toiler 1983. Okay, so this is example. So by convention, these citations are listed in chronological order. Okay, sixth point, in the case of more than 3 authors, you may use ETAL from ETAL II, Latin for and or others. So these are the short form abbreviations you can use here if there are 2 or 3 authors after the first author's name. Okay, so cyanide has been found to inhibit enzyme action. Now here, see, here I'm using the, here is the application of ETAL. See, Johns, and then I put ETAL dot, comma, 1985, parenthesis complete, full stop. So this is the way, okay, of writing. And lastly, thank you so much for patiently listening to my exhaustive talk. I would like to request all my students, guests, okay, who has any doubt regarding my presentation, regarding writing a scientific research paper, they can mail me, they can WhatsApp me, because I have a second session which is going to start at 8 o'clock. So I have to go there. Okay, so I'm sharing my contact number and WhatsApp contact number and email address in the chat box. Anyone has any doubt regarding writing a research paper, regarding writing a scientific research paper, they can mail me. Here I'm showing chat is not available at this time. Okay, so okay. What I can do?
Yeah, now it's open, sir. Please send.
Okay, so I'm writing here my email address. Anyone has any doubt regarding writing a scientific research paper or any other doubt related to science, related to research, teaching, teaching methodology, they can ask me, or they can. It's not showing. So write it down. My email address: Pratik. MNGKR11 @gmail.com. I don't have the access to write here. Okay. Now I got. I am writing my email address and contact details. If anyone has any doubt, they can ask their question on my mail. There are 2 mails I'm writing. I'm giving you my both email addresses. And also I'm sharing my WhatsApp number.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So thank you so much, everyone. Once again, the respected organizers, Dr. Shailaja, and all the team for organizing such an amazing international faculty development program. And thank you so much for having me here. And thank you to all my listeners, students, and guests who are present over here. So once again, thank you so much. Sincere gratitude. Greetings from India. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. We have seen such an energy and enthuse in your presentation, and you have shared plenty of knowledge about scientific research. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. This time I tried my best to simplify, because whenever scientific research paper or review paper, this terminology comes, many people scared. How to write, how to search. So this time I have prepared the presentation. So anyone, or you can say layman, they can read and they'll come to know what exactly or what are the ways to write the scientific research paper. So after the session, I'll share my entire PPT to Dr. Shailaja, and she'll send it to everyone. Okay. Because yes, I don't think so here I have the access to share the PPT. Okay. Or anyone who wants my PPT, they can message me. Okay. And I'll send it on WhatsApp also, or on email also. Okay. So once again, thank you so much. And best wishes to my dear friend Niara. Okay. Go ahead. Best of luck.
Hello, Doctor. Hello, Prof. Pratik. Thank you so much for your wonderful session. Happy to meet you.
Nice to meet you, and thank you. Best of luck for your session.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care. God bless you.